Thanks to the organizers for having me, and thank you all for being here. If the title of this panel is Are Public Universities Expressions of Social Justice, my paper argues that according to the Egyptian experience, the answer is no. And I just give you an introduction of the free education in Egypt. So what is the story of the free education in Egypt, which is linked usually to the Nasirian period, to Nasser. In fact, the free education started with Muhammad Ali, the founder of the modern state in Egypt, who was very keen to establish schools and faculties, not university, but faculties and colleges. The faculty of law, commerce, medicine, and engineering were established by Muhammad Ali, and all were free. So primary schools, secondary schools, faculties were for free at the time of Muhammad Ali. But the selection process, selecting people or students to study in these organizations was very, very hard. Students had to go in a process to make sure that they are physically and mentally are very well prepared to study. So for him, studying wasn't something wasn't very easy. So the selection process was really very hard. And because the selection process was very hard, the number of students wasn't very high. So the number was balanced. Then, at the time of British colonialization, the British authorities put fees on education. And it said that they wanted to decrease number of educated people, and so to decrease awareness. And after 1875, free education didn't exist anymore in Egypt. So after 1875, all education in schools and faculties was fees paid. Then we come to 1943. That year, the UK published its white paper for educational reform. According to this paper, the UK decided to make primary and secondary schools completely free and university free for those who prove they deserve to get free education. So very talented people should go to universities for free, but those who are not very talented should pay. But in schools, everyone can go for free. This white paper, which was published in the UK, inspired Taha Hussein, an Egyptian writer. And that time, he was the consultant of the Ministry of Education. So he decided also to apply the free education in primary schools. So in 1944, the primary schools in Egypt became for free. And in 1950, Taha Hussein became the Minister of Education, and he made the secondary schools also free. So in 1952, when there was a change in the regime, primary and secondary schools were already free. So when Nasser came to power in 1954, he didn't add to this. Nasser couldn't make the university education free before 1962. In the 10th anniversary of the revolution, he announced the National Charter, in which he announced the university education free for everyone, all Egyptians. But why Nasser took this decision? Let's remember that the Nasirian model was, Nasser adopted the socialist model. And in the socialist model, the state was the only provider of all services. The state was responsible for everything, the only controller, and the state needed thousands of employees to help in providing services and to work for the state. So the state or the regime, the Nasirian regime, didn't only make the university education free for everyone, but also he employed everyone who graduated from the university. And this was very normal because the state needed all these people to work for the state. Let's remember also that that time we didn't have this idea of competition. We didn't have this idea of looking outside, what's happening outside. It was all about the inside affairs. So it was all about Egypt. This idea of competition with the market, with the global standards didn't exist. So it was all in Egypt, and the idea wasn't to have qualified graduates, but to have just people to run the state affairs. This decision of making the university education for free for everyone was seen as the core of social justice policy of the Nasirian period. First, because it enables the social mobility in a system or in a society which just got rid of titles, passion, Beck, and so on, and where people couldn't really have the opportunity to move from a class to another or so. At the same time, it was seen like the core of the social justice policy of the Nasirian period because it enabled many families to send their girls to schools. Usually when a family has a boy and a girl, they used to always to send the boy because they cannot afford to send both of them. So now when the education became for free for everyone, they could also send their girls. So for women, it was really a big shift, a big jump. That time, everyone, like women and men, boys and girls, were in schools and also at university. We should say that time the Nasirian regime closed all vocational schools for girls, الثقافة النسوية and الفنون الطرزية. These two schools were very, very important vocational schools for girls, and they were closed to push families to send their girls to the university. Okay? Then we come to Sadat period, and there was another shift in the regime because then the state started to withdraw from being the only provider of services. There was like private sector entering, and the state didn't need all those graduates who graduate from universities. But then the system, the regime didn't have enough bravery to say we cannot employ people. So people were being employed but doing nothing, which we call till now al-batala al-muqanna. So people were just getting university education, graduate, and then get jobs, but they really do nothing. Okay? And we should say that Nasser and Sadat could fund universities because the number of people were still, number of students who join universities was still not very high. There was no population explosion yet in Egypt. So they could fund universities in a good way, not in a perfect way, but at least in a good way. In Sadat period, we had a problem in the professional sector, so we didn't have workers because everyone wanted to join the university and to graduate and to get a job and to have an office, so we didn't have workers. And so the wage of workers became much higher than the salary of university graduate people, and there was a problem in the structure of the society because workers and illiterates became even richer, and university graduates became like poorer and poorer, and this even influenced the idea how people look at education and to the university and how they see this idea of getting a university certificate. So now what is the situation? Yearly in Egypt, there are 350,000 of students who join public universities, and this is every year. The expenditure on higher education, the percentage of expenditure on higher education of the public expenditure is like 10%, and this is very low. But the budget, the Egyptian budget, cannot really afford more than that. The state spends less than $1,000, about $900, on the student in the Faculty of Medicine and Engineering, and less than $600 on the student in the Faculty of Law or Commerce or Social Sciences or so. And so we don't have really labs, and these numbers are really very low comparing to other countries. So we don't have labs. Students cannot go to have real experiments, and so we have also problems in libraries. Students cannot join lectures because the number of them is really very high comparing to the physical places. So they have to listen to lectures from outside or to sit on windowsills or so. Yani, the conditions themselves are not really good for students to understand and to be good graduates. Okay, another problem now is that the students can retake exams for 4 years for the one grade. So for the first grade, they can retake exams for 4 years, and then they go to the second grade, and then they can retake exams for 4 years, which means they can spend 16 years to graduate from a faculty, which is 4 years only. And in all these years, the university spends on them. So they don't pay, the university spends on them for 16 years in a faculty like literature, and for 25 years in a faculty like medicine or engineering. Many students fail on purpose. They don't want to graduate because after graduation they don't find jobs. But when they are students at university, they get many privileges like transportation or insurance. So they don't want to graduate. They intend to fail every year on purpose because they don't pay anything, but at the same time they get privileges, and if they graduate they lose these privileges and they don't find jobs. The position of Egypt in the recent report of competitiveness in higher education is 128 among 134 countries, which means the competitiveness of higher education graduates is very, very low. And many multinational corporations or banks complain that the graduates are not really well prepared, well qualified to work there. So they don't have jobs. The last word is that all these conditions make us say that we need to change this system of free education at universities, but we should put into consideration 3 things. First of all, that it's not really a free education system because in statistics, most families spend about 44% of their income on students in private lessons, in buying books to them, in all these things. So it's not really free education. We just should be brave to confess it's not free and to restructure it. The other thing is that when we say we should leave this free educational system, we should know also that there should be always a place for talented people to get an education for free. So the idea is that talented, qualified students can continue for free, but others who fail or who cannot fulfill the requirements should pay for that. The last thing is that when we speak about this system of free education, and we should think very well in the structure of wages and salaries in Egypt, together with canceling subsides or free education, we should think that should be complementary with changing the structure of salaries and wages in Egypt, because Egypt is one of the very lowest states in salaries and wages. Thank you.